So we're really excited, or I'm really excited to have this report. We've never had a report like this before in Saskatchewan. There's some data gaps, and all of the data is actually a combination of Saskatchewan and Manitoba, simply because our numbers were too low to separate out Saskatchewan and Manitoba from each other. So I just wanted to start out with that. And I find it always interesting that whenever I talk about statistics in organics, there's always like, it's almost like, I don't even want to make the comparison to, pharmaceuticals, but it's like the 2 pages of disclaimers around how they were arrived at and the approximations we made, and that they're the best that we have right now, and we're really campaigning with both provincial and federal governments to collect statistics on our behalf. So that is always my pitch when I talk about statistics, because I think we really, it's absolutely insane to believe that you can grow a sector and not actually have an accurate picture of where your sector is at the moment. And I know I talk a lot to conventional groups, and they're a bit blown away by the fact that we don't have statistics. So I'm not going to get off my soapbox because it's how I can see over the podium, but I'll stop talking about that for now. And we're going to just go quickly through some of these statistics. And a big part of my job, I feel, is to actually promote, boost, advocate on behalf of Saskatchewan organic farmers and our other members in the province. So I like, in these settings, to reflect back to you the market that you're serving. And Tia did a really great job of showing that big picture and those export opportunities. And I think that in Saskatchewan, that's largely what we do. We grow it and we ship it out. But I think increasingly there's a homegrown consumer market. And if people are thinking about getting into organics, this might be something that is of interest to them, the smaller scale farm serving local markets. So I'm just going to go through really top level key findings, and there are 4. The first one, our organic market share is increasing. So that number looks pretty good to me, but again, we haven't had a number before. $186 million were spent in Saskatchewan and Manitoba on organic products, and that is a growth of 1.2 to 2% between 2012 and 2017. So the trend is in the right direction, and that number seems pretty good. Key findings: consumer base broadening, but there are some barriers. In Saskatchewan and Manitoba, when you look across Canada, we tend to be a little bit more apathetic towards organic purchasing. Some of those reasons cited: unavailable, barriers of cost, things that we're quite familiar with hearing, I think, in the province. The percentage of folks buying organics in Saskatchewan in Saskatchewan and Manitoba is the lowest in the country, but as I go through the slides, you'll see it's still a pretty healthy number, even though we're the lowest in the country. Interestingly, there's a mismatch between what consumers are actually purchasing and their familiarity levels and trust in the Canada Organic logo. So we have a high trust level and recognition, but that isn't following through quite yet to purchasing, and that may be due to some of the barriers listed in that first bullet point. And I think actually availability is a really big barrier, especially in rural Saskatchewan. So mainstream offerings changing retail landscape, and I think that we don't really need statistics to tell us this, although it is really great to have them, or to have the data to support what we're seeing in our stores. So it used to be, even 3 or 4 years ago, I would say, in Saskatchewan, you were having to seek out organic food, going to the local independent store, to find your organic food. And now it doesn't matter what store you go into. It seems like, whether it's even a gas station or the big box stores or a supermarket, you are able to find something that is organic to purchase. So it's having an interesting impact. I know, speaking from experience in Regina, we've had 2 of our local independent organic retailers close their doors in the last 3 years, and it's interesting. I think that the retail market is in some ways reflecting how producers are feeling as well. Like, as the industry gets larger and the scales change, then who can, how whether it's a food or a commodity is being delivered, those channels are changing. And we're in this really interesting kind of shifting sands kind of thing. And I think we need to be mindful of that. And especially in retail, I really like to encourage people to buy local with one hat on. And then with the other hat on, it's like, I know that those large stores are driving volume, which is a good thing for farmers in Saskatchewan as well. So like with most things, it's balance that we're looking for. And I think that is one of the issues, or one of the things that we really need to think about, is instead of the either or that we often find ourselves in, it's like it's either local or it's local organic, or it's either we're doing one or the other as an industry, as a supplier. So either we can do local or we can do export. And I really think that we need to expand our thinking on that and figure out how we can support local food production in the province. And it is a strategic priority for Sask Organics to begin looking at those things. And the farm direct channels constrained by low supply. So that's happening across the prairie. So when we say the farm direct channels, that's the CSAs and farm gate sales. They are the lowest in the country on the prairies. And again, I think it's that waiting for the market, to meet the farmers, and the farmers are waiting for the consumers, and there's just not quite enough volume yet, or concentration of consumers it could be, to make that a viable alternative. And then who are our consumers? So 62% of Saskatchewan and Manitoba grocery shoppers purchase organic weekly, and that's up from 58% in 2016. So although we're the lowest in the country, I think the good news is that everybody in Canada is buying organic. So although our number is slightly lower than the national average, it's pretty amazing to me that 62% of us in the two provinces are buying organic. And then, millennials, they're definitely the present and the future. 85% of them purchase organic. And then you can see the Generation X at 69 and the baby boomers at 54%. And the final statistic there about the male-female, traditionally the idea is that more women buy organics, and that is how it has been in the past. But now we see either a leveling out or a slight shift to men now buying more organic than women. No idea why, but that's what they say. Organic shoppers choose organics in the following categories, and this, I'm not going to go through them. You can see them on the screen. I hope the graphics are kind of okay. I was saying I was so happy to see Elaine Ingham's presentation, because her slides are so straightforward and basic, and that's how I tend to be. I don't tend to have the pretty graphics, so this is my nice graphic slide. So you can see again, fruits and vegetables highest, and then the consumer packaged goods. Meat at 80% seems really high and encouraging to me. But organic production, and now these are very, very basic numbers. We have our new report coming out. Well, the Canadian report, as Tia mentioned, has been published. We through the Prairie Organic Grain Initiative, there was funding over these past 4 years, it will be 4 with the next one, to actually have a prairie-specific report written about our sector, and it has been an invaluable tool in all kinds of ways for Sask Organics and others. So these are the new numbers for Saskatchewan. So you can see it's an upward trend. And when we see the total operations, when you see the next few slides, all of the numbers won't add up, because some people are crop producers and processors and livestock producers, so they get separated out and then amalgamated or counted as one. So 2017, we're back up over 1,000 certified organic entities in the province, which is great. Crop producers, we've had a small increase from 2016, or not so small really. So that's also good. The trend is all upward. Organic processors, there was a fairly significant jump, because we've been at that 89 number really since we started collecting the statistics in 2014. So that is a fairly significant jump in that short period of time in the province. And those livestock producers in the room will that probably reflects how you're feeling about livestock production in the province. It's the same 30 people who are still at it, and we're grateful for that. And then the acres slide. So we've had another jump in acres in the province. We're now at over 1.1 million acres under organic management. Half of that is in field crops and half of it is in forage-ish. And then there's this 1% in vegetable production. And you can see that we have 64% of organic land in the prairies is in Saskatchewan, and 37% of organic land in Canada is in Saskatchewan. So whenever I'm talking with government, especially in Saskatchewan, I say, although we're small in numbers in the Saskatchewan context, when you look at us in the Canadian context, we're a significant portion of the organic sector in Canada. So that is all of my slides. If you do have any questions, I'm happy to take them. It was just a pretty straightforward run through statistics. The report that I took the consumer data from is available on the Sask Organics website. And when we publish the Prairie Organic Grain Initiative Prairie Data Report, which will be early November, that will also be available for download on the website. So thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Marla?
That's pretty straightforward. Okay. There's nothing complicated there.
Hi,
All
Marla.
right.
Sorry, it's Andy.
Oh, hey, Andy. Okay.
Just a question. On your last slide, you mentioned 50% of the land in Saskatchewan is forages. Is there
Yes.
a breakdown of permanent forage, like pasture versus managed forages?
Yes, yeah, there is in the report. There will be, yeah.
Okay.
And that 50-49 split has been pretty much standard over the last 4 years. And you can see the difference between, like you said, the permanent and the managed, which is a good point.